The situation has taken a shocking turn, and it all centers around a secret recording that has changed everything for Martell Holt, Melody Sheree, and Arionne Curry. Over the years, there has been ongoing drama between Martell, Melody, and Arionne, but this latest twist may be the most explosive yet. What is on this recording, and how could it potentially unravel everything that's been carefully concealed? Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you will understand why this could be the moment that changes everything for Martell. For years, the world watched as Martell's marriage to Melody crumbled, all while his relationship with Arionne Curry became a major source of public scrutiny. But what if the recording revealed more than just the typical drama between two ex-lovers? What if this recording exposed the deepest secrets of all, including lies that even Melody may have never known? This is not just another piece of gossip, it's a bombshell that could bring everything crashing down. At first, rumors swirled about the existence of a secret recording. It was believed to be another piece of gossip that would fade into the background, just like many other stories from this love triangle. But then a small snippet of the recording leaked online, and that's when everything changed. The voice on the clip was believed to be Arionne's, and what she said was enough to send shockwaves through social media. The words she spoke were not only about her relationship with Martell, they were about things he had done that were completely unknown to even Melody. Now the big question is, how did this recording get out, and why now? Some believe the recording was never meant to be public. Was it Arionne herself who leaked it, tired of being blamed for everything? Or was it someone close to Melody, looking to finally expose Martell for all his lies? There is even speculation that Martell may have had a hand in releasing it himself, hoping to control the narrative before anyone else could. Whoever released the recording, one thing is clear. The truth was now out in the open, and once it was revealed, everything changed. As the recording began to spread, people started to take notice. What was said in those few seconds was just the tip of the iceberg. Rumors turned into facts, and what had been a murmur of gossip quickly became a full-blown controversy. The recording revealed secrets that Martell had been trying to keep hidden for years. He wasn't just being unfaithful, he was lying to both Melody and Arionne. Martell made Arionne believe that his marriage was over long before the divorce, manipulating her into thinking he was free to be with her. At the same time, he made Melody feel like she was the problem, while he was playing both sides. But that's not where the shock ends. The recording also revealed something that could change everything for Martell's image. Arionne claimed that Martell had been lying about his financial situation for years. The world had known that he was struggling after the divorce, but according to Arionne, Martell wasn't just struggling, he was broke. For years he had been pretending to have it all together, while in reality, he was battling financial difficulties and blaming everyone but himself. This revelation could completely destroy the image he had spent years crafting. This confession paints a very different picture of Martell than the one he's tried to show the public. For years, he portrayed himself as a victim, claiming that Melody had ruined his life. He made it seem like everything went wrong because of her, but if Arionne is telling the truth, it means that Martell was pretending to be successful when, in fact, he was struggling. The truth has a way of coming to light, and now Martell's carefully constructed image is starting to crumble. What makes this situation even more complicated is the fact that Arionne, too, was misled. She believed she was entering a relationship with a man who had everything under control, but in reality, she was dealing with someone who was emotionally and financially unstable. Arionne may have thought she was with a confident, successful man, but the recording revealed that she was simply another pawn in Martell's game of manipulation. How does she move on from that? How does she recover when the man she thought she knew turns out to be someone completely different? But just when it seemed like things couldn't get any worse, the recording revealed something even more shocking. Martell allegedly told Arionne that Melody would never succeed without him. He claimed that Melody was only successful because of him, and that eventually she would come crawling back to him. This part of the recording is potentially the most explosive of all, because it shows that Martell was still holding on to the past, unable to accept Melody's success. While he publicly acted like he had moved on, behind closed doors, he was still bitter and resentful of her achievements. If these words are true, it means that Martell was still obsessed with Melody long after their divorce. He may have told Arionne that he was over Melody, but in reality, he was still deeply affected by her success. This revelation raises serious questions about Martell's emotional state and his ability to move on from the past. If he was still talking about Melody in private, then how much of what he said was a lie? How many other secrets has he been hiding from everyone, including Arionne? The recording has now raised more questions than answers. What else has Martell been lying about? What other truths has he been hiding? If he was dishonest about his finances, his relationship with Melody, and his emotional state, then what else has he been hiding? The more we hear from this recording, the clearer it becomes that Martell may not have been as transparent as he wanted everyone to believe. The more the public learns about him, the more questions arise. And if you think this is where the drama ends, you're wrong. What happened after the recording leaked was even more shocking. Social media went into overdrive as people analyzed every word of the recording. Bloggers, fans, and critics all jumped into the conversation, dissecting Martell's actions and words. Martell, who has always been able to control the narrative, found himself struggling to contain the damage. His name was trending, and the public was not forgiving. Instead of facing the situation head-on, Martell did what he always does. He tried to avoid responsibility. He claimed the recording was fake or taken out of context. But this time, his usual tactics weren't working. People weren't buying it. They had already heard the words, and no amount of denial could change that. Martell's attempts to downplay the situation only made it worse, and the public was not letting him off the hook. Meanwhile, Melody didn't need to say much. Her silence spoke volumes. While Martell was scrambling to clean up the mess, Melody simply continued living her life, letting her success do the talking. Her response was clear. The truth was out, and it spoke for itself. She didn't need to engage in the drama because the facts were already on her side. Martell's lies had been exposed, and his reputation was in ruins. But what about Arionne? If the recording is true, then it means that she has been deceived just as much as Melody. She had stood by Martell for years, defending their relationship against all the criticism. But now, the truth was out, and Arionne was facing the reality of being misled. How does she recover from that? How does she deal with the fact that the man she believed in was using her all along? The aftermath of the recording leak has been nothing short of dramatic. People are looking deeper into Martell's past, re-examining his old interviews, social media posts, and past statements. Had he been showing signs of insecurity and jealousy all along? Had he been trying to manipulate people's perception of him for years? As the investigation into Martell's actions continues, the public's view of him becomes more and more negative. His downfall is becoming clearer with every passing day. This recording has revealed the truth about Martell's mindset, his insecurities, and his manipulations. It has shattered the image he had tried so hard to maintain. The more people learn, the more his reputation continues to crumble. The truth, it seems, is unstoppable. And if you think this is the end of the story, think again. Because the next chapter of this drama is already unfolding, and there's no telling how deep the rabbit hole really goes. What other secrets will be revealed? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure. Martell's life will never be the same. As the internet continued to buzz with reactions to the leaked recording, Martell's situation only worsened. Social media platforms were flooded with opinions, memes, and commentary about his actions, his relationship with Melody, and his behavior toward Arionne. The conversation was spreading like wildfire, and every new piece of information was amplifying the scandal. People who had once supported Martell, or at least remained neutral, began to question everything. How could someone who had painted himself as the victim for so long be the one pulling the strings behind the scenes? How could he have manipulated both women into believing he was their rock when, In reality, he was struggling with his own issues and pretending to be someone he wasn't. The more people dug into the details of the recording, the more they began to see through the facade he had carefully constructed over the years. For many, the most shocking part of this entire situation was the way Martell had used his narrative of success and control to manipulate others. He had always portrayed himself as the man in control, the one who knew what he was doing, even as his personal life seemed to unravel. He had painted Melody as the problem in their marriage, suggesting. Martell's public image was quickly shattering, and he had no way of stopping it. His usual tactics of deflecting blame and shifting the narrative were failing him. People weren't just interested in what he had to say, they were focused on the recording, the words that had been exposed to the public, and the lies he had been telling all along. The more Martell tried to cover his tracks, the more the public demanded answers. While Martell was struggling to regain control of the situation, Melody was handling it with remarkable poise. Her silence spoke volumes, and her actions in the aftermath of the leak only reinforced what many had suspected. She had known the truth all along. Melody had been through the emotional roller coaster of being married to Martell, and now she was living her best life without him. Her success was undeniable, and the leaked recording only confirmed what many people had already suspected, that she had been the one who had been wronged all along. Arionne, on the other hand, found herself in the middle of a storm. If the recording was indeed real, it meant that she, too, had been deceived. She had trusted Martell and believed that their relationship was real, only to find out that she had been another pawn in his game. She had spent years defending Martell, trying to prove that she wasn't just the other woman. But now, with the recording out in the open, Arionne's world was turned upside down. The man she had defended was not the man she thought he was. One of the most interesting aspects of the aftermath was the speculation about who had actually leaked the recording. Some people believed it was Arionne herself, finally deciding to expose the truth and stop protecting Martell. After all, if she had been deceived, she might have wanted the world to know. Others thought it could have been someone from Melody's side, eager to finally expose Martell for the manipulative person he had been. The timing of the leak was certainly suspicious, and the fact that the recording was so carefully timed only added to the intrigue. No one knew for sure, but one thing was certain: the recording had done its job. It had exposed Martell for what he really was, and now the public was demanding answers. Arionne, however, was facing a dilemma of her own. If she had been the one to leak the recording, it meant that she had finally realized the truth. She may have been tired of being seen as the villain in the situation, the woman who was blamed for everything that went wrong in Martell and Melody's marriage. Maybe, just maybe, she wanted to expose Martell for the manipulative person he had been all along. If that's the case, then this could just be the beginning. If Arionne had been playing along with Martell's narrative for so long, she might now be ready to tell her side of the story. She might be ready to speak up about how Martell had misled her, just like he had misled Melody. At the center of all this drama, the question remained, what will happen to Martell now? The situation was far from over, and the consequences of the leaked recording were only beginning to unfold. Martell had spent years cultivating an image of himself as a successful businessman and a man who had been wronged by his ex-wife. But now, with the truth out in the open, his reputation was in tatters. His business ventures, once touted as signs of his success, were no longer viewed the same way. His personal life, once a private matter, was now on public display for all to see. The fallout from the recording leak wasn't just about the drama between Martell, Melody, and Arionne. It was about the lies, the manipulation, and the false narratives that had been created over the years. Martell's attempts to control the story had backfired, and now the public was seeing him for who he truly was. The recording had exposed the cracks in his carefully crafted image, and there was no going back. The public reaction was swift and unforgiving. People who had once supported Martell now found themselves questioning everything they had believed. Was he truly the victim as he had claimed? Or was he simply a man who had been hiding the truth from everyone around him? The more people learned about Martell's actions, the less sympathetic they became. And then there was the business side of things. Martell had built a career for himself, but now his credibility was in jeopardy. Who would want to work with someone whose personal life was so full of drama and deception? Who would want to associate their business with someone who had been exposed as manipulative and dishonest? Martell's business ventures, which had once seemed promising, now appeared uncertain. His financial struggles, which had been hidden for so long, even his role on Love and Marriage Huntsville was now in question. The show, which had thrived on drama, was now facing a potential crisis. If the backlash against Martell continued to grow, the network might be forced to step in. Reality TV shows are driven by ratings, and if Martell's presence on the show became a liability, the producers might have no choice but to remove him. His public image had been shattered, and the once popular figure had become a source of controversy. As for Arionne, her future was just as uncertain. She had become a central figure in this drama, and if she was the one who leaked the recording, she had opened herself up to public scrutiny. How would people view her now? Would she be seen as a victim, or as someone who had played a role in the chaos? It was clear that her relationship with Martell was far from over, and now that the truth was out, it was unclear how she would navigate the aftermath. The world had seen her as the other woman, but now, she had become a key player. In this explosive story, the truth, as always, has a way of catching up with people. Martell, who had spent years trying to control the narrative, had lost that control. The recording had exposed the truth, and now the world was watching to see how he would react. The drama was far from over, and the consequences of his actions were only beginning to unfold. One thing is certain: Martell's life will never be the same. The recording has changed everything, and as more details continue to surface, the public's perception of him is likely to continue evolving. The question now is, how will he respond to the truth that has been laid bare? Will he continue to deny, manipulate, and try to control the narrative? Or will he finally face the reality of what has been exposed and deal with the fallout from his actions? Only time will tell. But for now, Martell's world is in chaos, and there's no turning back. The tension surrounding Martell continues to grow as every passing day brings more attention to the fallout from the leaked recording. He had always believed he could control the narrative. But the more this story unfolds, the more it becomes clear that he underestimated the power of the truth. While Martell is caught in a whirlwind of damage control, the people around him, especially Arionne, are starting to realize the full extent of his manipulations. Let's take a step back and reflect on the entire situation. Martell had been playing both Melody and Arionne for years. He had convinced them that they were both essential to his life and future, only to later reveal that he was never being fully honest with either of them. He used his charm to make each woman feel like they were the one who mattered the most to him. However, the secret recording exposed a different side of Martell, a side that showed him to be deceitful, insecure, and emotionally unstable. It was no longer about his personal life being just a dramatic back and forth. It was about the lies he had constructed around it. What the public was learning about Martell's lies was only the beginning. As more people began to discuss the key recording and its implications, those close to Martell started to look at him differently. The people who had once defended him, his friends, his colleagues, and his supporters, were now re-evaluating their loyalty. How could they stand behind a man who had not only deceived the people closest to him, but had also played a part in destroying the lives of those around him? With the truth now out in the open, Martell's reputation was in shambles. His business ventures, which had already been on shaky ground, were now in jeopardy. Investors, partners, and even fans of Love and Marriage Huntsville, who once supported him, were now second-guessing their decisions. Martell had spent years building an image as a successful businessman and a loving father, but the leaked recording revealed the cracks in that image. The public began to wonder, if Martell couldn't manage his relationships, How could he manage his business? The most shocking part of the entire situation